about him in the way of introduction. He is an alumnus of Harding University, had a long career preaching in Texas, and his last job was at Darby Drive, which is the largest congregation in Florence, Alabama, now called Cross Point, I believe, and did a great work there. And he went into the elders one day and said, "I'm leaving." And of course, the elders panicked, and he said, "No, I'm leaving to start what has been my life and my wife's vision, and that is Partners for Africa." And we could stand up here all day and talk about Partners for Africa and the work that it does. You can go to their website and check it out. I encourage you to do that. If you were here during Bible class, you heard just a little bit of what they do. Brother Dorian's going to be preaching to us this morning, but I want to say something on behalf of Partners for Africa, something that we can do. Our elders stood before you a few months ago after Dorian visited the first time, and they said, "We want to help purchase a tractor for that work to be self-sustaining." And you guys weren't content with that. You donated all the money needed to purchase a tractor. And on Friday, that tractor will ship from Savannah, Georgia, all the way across the world to Africa, where it'll be unloaded and used, and that's awesome. And so today, we have another opportunity. It's not going to cost you quite as much as a tractor. There have been tremendous conversions taking place in the work there, and not everybody is English speaking. So there is a need for 250, is that the number that we said? 250 Zulu Bibles. These are hardback Bibles that will be presented to families, especially new Christians, so they can study the Bible. Those are $10 a piece. So there's probably about 200 to 250 of us here this morning. If each of us could come up with $10, we could purchase Bibles for those new converts that need it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can write a $10 check. Just write it to the church and earmark it what it's for, and give it to one of the elders, and they'll make sure that goes to a cause. And so we're excited to have Brother Dorian here and looking forward to his message.
Well, it's an absolute joy for me to be here, not only to present our work, but also to preach the gospel. And I am so thankful for the opportunity given to me by the elders here. And let me just say right from the start, the singing was just wonderful, man. You know, you just, when it's done right, you just can't beat a cappella music, you know. It's just wonderful. And I love the selection of songs that Jeremy did, because it got to feature different parts. And I just want to say, I mean, the sopranos, altos, I mean, you're all so good, and the tenor, but that bass in that last song, man, I like that, boy. That was good. But it's just wonderful. And Jeremy and Carla and their treasure, I'm just so happy for them. And Jeremy is such a talented minister and a good friend, and I appreciate them, the whole family, so much. And we are thankful. My wife couldn't be here this morning because she had to make a choice. It really wasn't a choice. We leave a week from Wednesday for Africa, and the grandchildren came in to see us. And so I was sent on my way by myself, you know, which is okay. But she did say to tell you next time that we come here, she is going to come. So we are thankful for all the blessings God gives us. Please pray for us as we travel to Africa. I've looked for a shortcut, but there isn't. And but anyway, God has blessed us, and we look forward to being with our brethren over there. Your spiritual view does matter. It matters how you interact with your family. It matters how you interact with your community, and it certainly matters how you interact with your church. And whether you're a contributor or whether you're have a negative impact. You know, Paul, writing in 1 Corinthians and to the Corinthian brethren, made this point: what after all is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe. I planted the seed and Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. You know, one person said, competing at the least is underused leadership potential. You know? Paul says, listen, we instruments like you, so don't get your allegiance here. Paul baptized me, or Apollos taught me. No. We are instruments of God. We are ministers just like you, It's all about God. He uses the agricultural term here, I planted. And Paul says, when I was there, you needed milk. In fact, I couldn't even move on to meat because you were fleshly. All I could deal with was with milk with you guys. And then Apollos came, and Acts 18 tells us that he was eloquent and he was competent. And it's almost like we fill two different roles. But the bottom line is God. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the Greek, but I do want you to know that the Greek language illuminates what the English can't do. When he says, I planted, Apollos watered, it's in the aorist tense, which indicates action completed in the past. But when Paul says, God gave the increase, the Greek indicates action in the past that continues. How many of you could stand up here and look through the auditorium and see where brothers and sisters used to sit, but have now gone on to be with the Lord? And a void it was, because the certain things that they did, and they are missed by the body. But you know what? God's work continues. Paul says, I came, but I'm not there anymore. And whatever good was done, it's what I did personally there has ceased. And what Apollos did, he's gone, it has ceased. But God has continued to work in you, because it's all about him. Another thought that comes to my mind when I think about that passage is just hit that next point for me, please. Is that unity keeps the evangelism and outreach fire stoked. He says, now he who plants and he who waters are one. When we experience that sweet spot, when we are unified. Can I just share a few slides with you that I know some were in Bible class and couldn't all be in here, but we did a well. This is because of unity. This is because we work together. There's that Church of Christ in Chidobe. They have a lot of widows and they have orphans. And so the men and the youth came together and they said, we want to drill a well. If we can get the water, what we want to do is our widows don't have any Social Security. I mean, they don't have that in Africa. They don't have Social Security. They don't have Medicare, Medicaid. And so here's these widow ladies and literally starving here in the bush. And they said, if you could just drill us a well. And we drilled the well and we provided solar panels and you could see it there. And they said, we're going to grow vegetables. And some of the vegetables will be for the village, but some of the vegetables are going to be for the, as James referred to, isn't it? The widows and the orphans. And the money that we get from those vegetables is going to go into a special account, and that's going to be the widow's Social Security. Those things happen when we are unified in purpose. This is an orphanage where we just did a well, where 100 children were drinking unclean water, but because churches came together, look what has been achieved. The container that's going Friday and the tractor, all those, besides supporting the clinic, there are going to be literally thousands of people that are going to get fresh vegetables. You talk about extending life expectancy with clean water and fresh vegetables, and then the opportunity to share the gospel. I want you to see that. Look how happy they are now, knowing they're drinking their fresh water. This is an elder and a preacher that came, and it's a well that was drilled by a church in Texas, and they came and drank the fresh water. Look at all the areas. I showed this the first session where we have different countries where we've got wells, and now the clinic where we're helping so many, and the agricultural program that is providing jobs for Christians. Those ladies had no work, and now they entrepreneurs because they've got a cut in what's happening. And then our solar panels that we have there. I mean, just wonderful things happen, and all the time the gospel is being shared. I just want you to see what our partnership has produced and what continues to produce. Look at all the results that have happened. And Paul, when he says to them, listen, when we're not spending our time pretending or directing our allegiance to a human being, but to God Almighty, and the church is unified in that, look at all the things we can get accomplished. But there's something else too. There's assurance on the journey when I know it's not about me. There's assurance there. I want to share with you something. I grew up in Southern Africa, and we grew up speaking Afrikaans and English. Afrikaans is really a patois from German and Dutch. And there's a word called bokkie. When a young guy likes a young lady and they start dating, he might say, "Jy is my bokkie." Well, bokkie literally means a doe or a buck, but is a fond term that means sweetheart and honey. Jy is my bokkie. You know, the Zulus. The Zulus have beads that express their emotions. When a young Zulu man leaves his new wife, and heads to the city to try to find work so he can help support his family, he might get a bead in an envelope. The black bead is anger or hurt. The blue bead is loneliness. The green bead is pining for you. The pink bead is poverty. The white bead is purity. The yellow is jealousy. And the red is intense love. And he loves it when he can open up that envelope and see a red bead in there. Those are the words that we might use for ourselves. God has his words. And one of his words is beloved. In Matthew 3:17, and a voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." In Matthew 17:5, while yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice out of the cloud which said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." What was God saying? In the word beloved, he is my treasure. My Son is precious to me. That's the loving words of God. And when it comes to God, finally, he talks about us uniting. We must use the word of love, and we must act on love. In John 4:20, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. And our love can grow when we understand the covenant that we enjoy with God. That covenant is threefold. It's a covenant of forgiveness. It's what children of God, it's what we possess. This covenant of forgiveness and this covenant of fellowship. God is faithful, by whom you were called into the fellowship of his Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, 1 Corinthians 1:9. It's a covenant of fulfillment. God will do this, for he is faithful to do what he says, and he has invited you in partnership with his Son, 1 Corinthians 1:9. Our love that we have must be the love that God has. And it's a love that's a sharing love. It's a caring love. It's an all-weather love. It's a fusing love. In Colossians 3:12 and 13, therefore, as God chosen people, holy and dearly beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion and kindness and humility, gentleness and patience. Bear with each other. Forgive one another. If anyone who has a grievance against someone, forgive as God has forgiven you. So we have this covenant, which leads me to think about the other one that goes with the assurance on the journey, and that's reunion. As June and July approach, there's some of you here that can enjoy your family reunions. You know what that is like. You might get some encampment or some retreat, and you have these matching t-shirts, and you have a smorgasbord of food, and it might have a lot of those secret recipes. And before you know it, uncles and aunts are sitting around a table, and out comes dominoes and cards. And the cousins have got balls out, footballs and basketballs, and maybe the music's playing, and the sun is shining, and everybody is just having a great time catching up on what has happened the year before with relatives. And before you know it, the sun is setting and the smiles are gone, because there are sad faces, because it's ended. You're leaving now. You're heading on home. There are some amongst that group that maybe it's their last family reunion, because between this one and the next one, they might take their last breath. It's temporary. It's just for that moment. And when it ends, it's sad. And yet I think of the reunion that we'll have together one day in heaven. The reunion is everlasting. For the Christian, the separation is momentary. I did a funeral 2 weeks ago. It was Thomas Elkins. God granted him a good life. He was 85 when he took his last breath. But when I graduated from Harding many years ago, I was just a rookie preacher, went to the Bluff Springs Church of Christ out of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, farming area. I got to farm. I did. I thought if I was going to connect with these people, I mean, I grew up in Africa, but I was a city slicker, you know. And I got onto a tractor. I remember the first day that this guy asked me, he says, "Dorian, would you like to help me put in soybeans and corn?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And the first day he picked me up, I think it was about 5:45. And I got into the truck and I jokingly said, "Sun up till sundown." And he looked at me with a straight face and he said, "We have lights on the tractors now." I think for the first time in my life, I realized that, you know, food just doesn't come from a grocery store originally, you know. But Thomas was a farmer. And I was with a new church and I was excited, man. So what did I do? I just graduated from Harding and I got a team of students, all my buddies, and you know, to come up and do a campaign. And we were having a campaign. We were knocking doors. We had a meeting at night. Area preachers were asked to preach one night at a time. I mean, everybody was pumped and excited. And Audrey Elkins, Thomas's wife, was working all day, but she was inviting friends, and some of them didn't have transport, and she was running late one night. And so she dropped off her children on the side of the highway so she could make it to pick those people up in time for church. And as Ricky got out that car and his mother said, "Ricky, please look before you cross the road." And he was too busy wanting to run to get to the building, and a car hit him. And I can still hear the bang on the door. I was still in the house. And Pam, his sister, saying, "Brother Flynn, Ricky's been hit." And I thought they were playing with the boys. And I remember running out and then seeing there was something happening on the road there, and seeing Audrey holding her lifeless 8-year-old son in the middle of Highway 107. Thomas was heartbroken, but it never changed him as far as him coming to church and embracing Jesus Christ. And I thought that for sure would be because I had been spending time with him. And then Audrey passed away and Thomas still stayed away. And then something touched him. To this day, I don't know what it was. But I will never forget the moment that I came back holding a gospel meeting and him serving me the Lord's Supper about 5 years ago. During that process, maybe reflecting on his life, whatever, he came back to the Lord. And then I thought of the reunion. And so when I spoke at the funeral, it was happy, it was joyous because of the reunion that they will experience. You know, this message we have, this is the greatest message in the world because it's never irrelevant and it's global. And I want you to know that I am so excited that there is a church here in LJ, that you are a light here and that you're making a difference with all that you do. And I'm thankful that we can take the same message that we have preached here today, we can take it halfway around the world, that same message, and make the same impact. No matter how our culture changes, brethren, no matter how far it gets away from God, with loving hearts and with care and love for people, let's continue to share the gospel. And the only way we do that is by showing in a powerful, unified force. So let's not get distracted by, I'm for this one and I'm for that one. No, it's all about God, and God gives the increase. The reunion will be immense, the more people that we can impact. And so today and this morning, I'm thankful we celebrated this victory in Jesus Christ. And take it with you this week as you go and as you serve him. And we, of course, extend the invitation, the words of the Apostle Paul in Galatians chapter 3, verse 37, for as many of you have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ. It's not just the getting wet, it's adopting his lifestyle. And that's the invitation. And so we extend that to you as we stand and as we sing.
Sin is great, but I can see the glory set for me. Show me, Father, where to start, and gently break my soul.